Did you know 500 Russians attacked 40 Americans and only few of them came home? In 2018, 500 Russian Wagner mercenaries had the genius idea to attack 40 American soldiers in Syria. The USA swiftly introduced them to the word overkill. It is February 2018. The Russian Wagner group has a plan. A stupid plan, but a plan. You will not believe how badly their plan worked. For months, Wagner mercenaries have been Russia's unofficial ground force in Syria. Officially, they don't exist. Moscow says it has never heard of them. Unofficially, they do Russia's dirty work. Tonight, Wagner wants oil money. The deal is simple. Capture oil facilities. In return, get a fat cut of the profits. Quick in, quick out. Easy payday. What could go wrong? One tiny problem. A U.S. Special Operations outpost sits right next to those oil fields. About 40 Americans, Marines, Green Berets, Delta operators, the kind of guys who overthrow dictators for fun. But what the Spec Ops did later was crazy. Wagner looks at the numbers. 500 of their fighters, 30 armored vehicles, including T-72 tanks, mortars, artillery, against 40 Americans in a small desert outpost. To Wagner, this looks like a cakewalk. They're used to slapping around Syrian rebel groups twice their size. 40 Americans? Please. They'll be done before midnight. Spoiler, they will not be done before midnight, but something will be done to them. Now, the USA military isn't run by idiots. US intelligence has already intercepted a phone call between Wagner, the Syrian government, and Moscow. In that call, Wagner gets the green light to attack the American position. Russia knows. Syria knows. Everybody knows. A few days before the attack, US forces notice troops build up. The Americans, being the responsible adults in the room, pick up the phone and call Russian command. A large force is building up near our position. Are these yours? The Russian officer responds, "No, these are Syrians. We have no control over them." The Americans have the intercepted phone call. They know this is complete horseshit, but they hold back. Surely these guys aren't stupid enough to actually attack a US military position. Wrong. Dead wrong. Emphasis on dead. The Wagner column rolls toward the Conoco oil facility. 500 fighters, tanks grinding across the sand, mortars loaded, truck-mounted artillery ready to fire. Standing between them and the money is a small team of about 40 US Spec Ops. On paper, this is a slaughter waiting to happen. But what Wagner doesn't know, something crucial. 25,000 feet overhead, MQ-9 Reaper drones have been tracking every vehicle in this column for hours. Every tank, every mercenary who thinks tonight is payday. US intelligence has the full picture. Wagner knows none of this. They think they're sneaking up on a sleeping outpost. The Russian column opens fire. Mortars, tank rounds, and artillery slam into the area around the American base. A full-scale assault on the tiny outpost. Relentless. US soldiers hit their fighting positions and return fire. But let's be real, that's nothing. The Americans need the big toys. The big toys are already warming up. Here's where the story gets fun. No, not for Russians. The second the first shell lands near American soldiers, the Pentagon makes a phone call. The US Secretary of Defense calls his Russian counterpart directly. Stop the attack. The Russian side responds, "We don't have any Russian forces in the area." The American says one word, understood. That understood is not an agreement. It is the sound of the United States taking off the safety gloves and going all in. Russia just lied and denied ownership of the attacking force. That means these fighters have zero diplomatic protection. They are not Russian soldiers. They are hostile combatants. And the US military has standing orders for what happens to hostile combatants who shell American positions. The order goes out: annihilate the attacking force. All platforms, all weapons, no restrictions. And boy, does the United States deliver. Within minutes, every available US combat asset in the region spins up and heads for the kill zone. F-22 Raptors, the most advanced fighter jets on planet Earth, B-52. This bomber has been ending careers since 1955. When its bomb bay opens, the property value of everything below drops to zero. Someone let an engineer with severe anger issues design a plane. And this is what he built. AC-130 gunship. It circles overhead and fires sideways. AH-64 Apache helicopters. 16 Hellfire missiles each. The name Hellfire is extremely accurate. MQ-9 Reaper drones. You don't see them. You don't hear them. You only learn they exist when something next to you stops existing. All of this, every single platform, now locked onto 500 men with Cold War tanks who thought tonight was going to be easy money. The first F-15E rolls in hot. A 500-pound JDAM drops from the pylon. It falls through the sky. Impact. The lead T-72 tank disappears. The Wagner column freezes. Then the second bomb lands. Then the third. Then everything lands at once. The AC-130 banks into its left-hand death orbit. The 105mm cannon booms. An armored carrier ceases to exist. F-15Es scream in pass after pass. Each impact sends a shockwave and a fireball ripping through the formation. Secondary explosions chain through vehicles loaded with ammunition. The B-52 drops its payload from 30,000 feet. Wagner never hears it, never sees it. They just see a wall of fire half a mile wide erase the landscape ahead of them. The ground shakes so hard grown men can't stand up. Now, nobody moves forward. Nobody retreats. The whole force is boxed in. The military term is kill box. Tonight, that name is painfully accurate. Apache helicopters come in low and fast. Hellfires streak across the dark. One missile per vehicle, one fireball per missile. They hunt fleeing trucks across open desert. The mortars pounding the American base go permanently quiet. There is nowhere to hide in flat desert. There is nothing to hide behind. Intercepted radio transmissions from the Wagner force paint a picture of total collapse. One mercenary screams, "They're hitting us from everywhere! The sky, the ground, it won't stop!" Another voice, shaking, "There's nothing left here! Where do we go?" A commander tries to rally his men. "Push forward! Hold positions!" Nobody pushes forward. Everyone is trying to crawl, run, or pray their way out of the kill box. One desperate voice calls Russian military HQ directly. He begs for air support. He begs for reinforcements. He begs for anything. Russia does not answer. Silence. Dead, empty silence. They already said these men don't exist. You cannot medevac ghosts. Wagner has been hung out to dry by the country that sent them. Here's what makes it even worse. Russia had jets available. They had dense air defenses in the area. They could have helped, but the Russian pilots took one look at the F-22 Raptors circling above and made a career decision. They chose breathing over flying. Smart move. Those Raptors would have swatted them before they could finish saying Blyat. Russia's air defenses stayed cold too. Not because they couldn't fire, but because they knew their systems were outclassed. Shooting at US aircraft would mean they want to join Wagner. They really did not want to join Wagner. Now here's a detail that shows what American soldiers are made of. US pilots start running low on fuel and ordnance. Standard procedure says swap out with fresh crews. These pilots refuse. They know 40 Americans are still on the ground, still outnumbered, so they fly back to base, refuel, rearm, and get right back into the fight. No rest, no shift change. They are not leaving their boys down there with anything less than everything. The pounding continues hour after hour. 4 straight hours of every weapon system the US military has in the region, hammering 1 square mile of Syrian desert. By dawn, the battlefield was a hellscape of liquefied metal and sand turned to glass. One American soldier later describes the landscape as moon-like. That's being generous. The targeted area is a wasteland of craters, scorched earth, and twisted metal. Burned out T-72 hulls sit in holes. Trucks look like crushed soda cans. After the dust settles, the USA calls Russia again. "Remember when you said you had no forces in the area? Now you really don't. Feel free to pick up what's left, if you can find anything." Russia doesn't respond. They never officially confirm any losses. They never admit Wagner was there. Since that night, Russia has not challenged US forces anywhere. Not once.